Now stretch your legs for a minute. But let me tell you a few things about Real Madrid. Well, you know that soccer, we call it football in Spain and in Europe. We say football, we don't say soccer. And football for us in Europe is what we call el deporte rey, the king sport, the number one sport. This is not only sport, this is something that attracts all the attention of many people. You know, it is the most powerful thing that exists in Europe. Soccer, you cannot imagine how powerful it is. It draws the attention of everyone, almost everyone. Okay, and it moves a lot of money. So this club was founded in the year 1902. That's 108 years ago. Okay, Real Madrid is called Real Madrid. Real means royal, because the kings of Spain granted this this title of being the royal team of Spain, because they did great things. They won European championships. You know that this club is the number one in the history of soccer as numbers of titles. This club outnumbers any other club anywhere, in England, in France, in Italy, anywhere. I mean, there's no comparison with this club. This is the number one. In the year 2000, the world organization called FIFA, that organized the World Cup, they organized a votation, a survey in the world to see who was the best player in the history of soccer, and they voted 2 players. They couldn't vote just one, the Brazilian Pelé and the Argentinian Maradona. Then what was the best national team in history? Brazil, because they have won more titles, and well, we cannot compare with Brazil. Brazil are the greatest. And the best club in the history of soccer, Real Madrid, this club. Okay, so we're very proud. We have had some of the best players in the history of this game. We have had, for example, that David Beckham. David Beckham is playing here. Actually, I saw him walking one day here. I came to the stadium and he was just walking around here alone, David. And we have now the most expensive player in the history of soccer. Okay, Cristiano Ronaldo, a Portuguese player that played many years for Manchester United. He is playing in Real Madrid, and Real Madrid just paid for the transfer from Manchester United to Real Madrid over $100 million. I think it was $120 million. That was just the price of the transfer. Then they have to pay every year the salary to this player. We have calculated that every time that Cristiano Ronaldo kicks the ball during a game, he's making 100,000 euros. Kicks the ball during a game, or touches the ball. So you can imagine. Okay, please look at something. On the side of your seats here in the corridor, there are numbers. I would like you to see the numbers there. Do you see the numbers? You see them? Yes? Okay, please remember the numbers during the day, because you will use the same seats, and because we're going to open the doors now of the coach, and then you can take a picture of this stadium that bears the name of Santiago Bernabéu. Santiago Bernabéu was the president of this club, in the 60s, when this club won 5 times in a row the Champions League of Europe. Champions League is a championship when the best teams in Europe play. One team per country. They play, and there is one team that wins. So this club won it 5 times in a row, and this is the reason why they own the cup. No other team in the history has done that, no other club. So only when you win 5 times in a row, you own the cup. The World Cup, we don't own it in Spain, because we have it here just for 4 years. At the end of that period, we have to give it away. It will break our heart, but we expect that we will win it again, of course, because the cup goes around. Okay, the trophy. Okay, the European trophy is owned by this club. We own it, and we have it here always. Okay, they had to make a copy, but the original one is here. Okay, we're going to open the doors now. We have just the time to take a picture and come back.
I'm very pleased to be with you now and later on for Segovia. Today the whole city is for ourselves, no traffic, no nothing. So Sunday, everybody's sleeping except we, Trafalgar people. So we are going to enjoy this lovely city, and the first thing you see is obviously the Real Madrid soccer stadium there. So if you look up, perhaps you can see 1902, which was the year in which the football team was created. And a few years later, in the 20s, they started building the first stadium, which was called Chamartín. At that time, this was far from Madrid, because Madrid ended, I will tell you where, a little bit later on. Further down, that was the end of Madrid. All this was occupied with country houses. So they created this first stadium here in the 20s. But later on it proved to be a little bit small. So there was this charismatic person, Santiago Bernabeu. It is the name the soccer stadium has. And then he started building a new one in the 40s. Works lasted for years. In 1947 it was finished, and then his idea was to build a stadium of which Spain could be proud, and he built a beautiful thing. But after that first building, 4 remodelings took place. The last one was in the year 2000, and for that occasion, you see, they did a lot of things. Actually, it was a technical challenge because they included 8 panoramic lifts on the corners, and they have to put there in that empty area where the lifts go 173 tons of metal, and then the capacity ended up by being 82, in round figures 82,000. They organized a lot of things like heating. It is heated, this stadium. So temperature can be 10, 12 degrees higher in winter. Then the lawn is a mixture of natural and artificial, a complicated thing coming from Holland. And just to avoid doves damaging the lawn, they have hogs. Can you imagine how sophisticated? And you know that Real Madrid plays here. Actually, it was inaugurated with a match, since we have our driver from Portugal. It was a match between a team from Portugal, Los Beleneses, and Real Madrid. In 1947, Real Madrid won. It was 3-1. But besides, obviously, the important football matches, other kind of events have also taken place here. Political, religious, when the Pope John Paul II came, even Pius XII, it was here. Everybody knows Frank Sinatra, right? He gave here a concert in 1968. Julio Iglesias, U2. So it has had different uses, and it is an emblematic building in Madrid, the Santiago Bernabéu. Muy bien, so let's go. So where we are now, you see, this is the northern part of Madrid. This morning we are going to discover that Madrid is a mixture of different cities put together with completely different styles. So this is the very new Madrid, as you can imagine, when you look at these buildings we have here to the right. This area to our right is known as AZCA, A-Z-C-A, which means Commercial Association Zone A. Let me tell you about this, because this area is located in Castellana. Obviously, Castellana is the name of this wide avenue, which is the most important we have in Madrid. So, in the 50s, there was an architect with the name Antonio Perpiñá, and he had the idea of creating here a lot of things, following the American tendency of the moment. He wanted a commercial center, a center for leisure, for culture, everything with a different area. It was a good idea because the only commercial center at the moment was in the center of Madrid, in the area of Sol that we are going to see later on. So this is what he wanted, and but it took so long that the result was very different. And now we have isolated constructions. Very interesting, by the way. Look at this one, for instance, coming to our right by Oriol. It's Madrid Savings Bank, 113 meters high, and the facade is really the supporting element of the building. Inside is diaphanous, very open. You will see a green bear because the bear is the symbol for Madrid, and this is Madrid Savings Bank, this first tower here. But you can see the other one behind, which is Picasso Tower, 150 meters by Minoru Yamasaki. It is a combination of aluminium plaques and crystal. On top there is a heliport, and perhaps it will ring a bell, and it will remind you of the World Trade Center in New York because it was the same architect, Yamasaki, and you can see just right behind. So that the first idea by Perpignan was not really accomplished, but now we have here a financing center, a commercial as well, because you can see Corte Inglés, which is our most important department store in the country. Today is a Sunday, but it opens during the week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. and you find them in every major city. The next one, BBV, by Sainz de Oriza, is it was built in the 70s, the other in the 80s. Complicated thing because it is on top of a tunnel, and it is iron and crystal. The color changes depending on the weather conditions. So behind us, Azca, the very modern Madrid. And where we have now these buildings coming to our right, completely different, as you can see. Very, very different. They are plain, they are grey, they are like boxes, a good number of windows. This was the end of Madrid in the 1850s and 60s. We had the horse races here, which was royal property, incidentally. So that's why from this point back, country houses, orchards, and the end of Madrid. And these buildings, you can read Nuevos Ministerios, new ministries. It's a group of ministries together, and this was built with General Franco. That's why it's a kind of fascist architecture that we have here, that you can also find in Mussolini's Italy, like boxes, a little bit plain, not a lot of imagination, not to be compared with the original towers just right behind. So Castellana is the important avenue in Madrid, and let me tell you that from the beginning of the 20th century, Madrid finished here, right? So there was this idea in the minds of the mayor and the authorities of creating a wide avenue towards the north in the beginning of the 20th century. A lot of discussions, and then eventually in the 20s there was a contest to have ideas and to have proposals by the architects. The first prize was vacant, but a special mention was given to an architect with the name Zuazo, and his plans were approved, and then the beginning of Castellana was started. Zuazo has the idea of creating here a beautiful avenue with small deluxe houses, individual houses, to create also very good shops, to create an axe representing the administration, a lot of beautiful ideas. But that was in the early 30s, and you know, in 1936 we started with our civil war. So plans changed. This architect was not very well considered by Franco, so he didn't continue. It was another one, Vidagor, taking over, and even though he used some of Zuazo's idea, it was clear that Castellana had to represent the spirit of the winners and had to be also a barrier with the other areas we have to the right, over there, behind these buildings, which go for a working population. But anyway, Castellana became the White Avenue, the place where the important events, military parade and all that take place, where we have airline companies, hotels. It's really like an axe dividing Madrid from the south to the north. It's like a road. Today is a Sunday, and besides that it is August. You see that most of the people have left Madrid because this is a traditional month for holidays. But usually thousands of cars use this every day. It's really the busy traffic artery for Madrid. So now that you have had a look at Castellana, we are going to change and explore a different section of Madrid. Everywhere you look, you are going to see flowers, green, fountains. Madrid, you can see, is very open and beautifully green. It is the second greenest capital in Europe after London in green areas. So now we are coming to the northwestern part of Madrid. Eastern section of Madrid, east of Castellana. And this new section we are going to explore is known as Salamanca Quarter. Salamanca is a lovely town. Well, you have beautiful towns in your itinerary, you can't have all of them. So Salamanca for next time. Salamanca is northwest of Madrid, towards Portugal, and it's a lovely place. Yes, you are having a look at the beautiful houses, right? They are lovely houses. This is the area of Madrid where we find beautiful constructions. Alright, so why Salamanca? Well, because there was a Marquis. Have a look at the houses here, they are very nice. A Marquis of Salamanca, he was a banker, he was a financier, and when this section of Madrid was built, he invested money. So consequently, it was named after him. So this is Salamanca Quarter, Barra, District, whatever. And to understand why this was built, we have to understand what was going on in the 19th century here in Madrid, because all this section was built in the second part of the 19th century. So you know, that was a moment for important industrial and social transformations. You know that the railways were starting to be built in the 1850s, that people were coming from rural areas more and more to the big city, like practically all over the world, right? Looking for a better life, more opportunities of finding a job. So the population was increasing continuously, so much that houses were overcrowded, up to a point when the mayor of Madrid decided that the minimum size for a room had to be 3 square meters, which is like 9 square feet. Imagine that the average for a dwelling in Madrid at that time, second half of the 19th century, was 30 square meters in Madrid, as opposed to 100 square meters in London. That gives you an idea of how crowded the city was becoming. Have a look here. This is Salamanca Square, where we have the statue depicting this Marquis of Salamanca, there to the left, who was the man, the engine behind the construction of this area. That's why this square is named after him and his monument is there. Alright, so the thing is, you see that one of the reasons to build this was to build houses for that increasing population. Besides that, the city was changing because perhaps you remember that beginning of the 19th century, 1808, Madrid was invaded by Napoleon. And Napoleon has this tendency of giving the countries to a member of the family. So in the case of Spain, it was his brother Joseph. Joseph was king of Spain, and Joseph did many things for Madrid. For instance, he decided to move the cemeteries, which were inside the cities, outside. He destroyed a good number of churches because Madrid was a conventual city. There were many churches, many convents from the 1500s when it became a capital. So he destroyed many of them to make wide squares and wide avenues. So besides that, you see, there was the creation of new areas in the suburbs, like Argüelles, an area which was close to Plaza de España. So all these changes had to do in the construction of Salamanca Quarter, where we are just right now. The architects, well, a certain Castro here in Madrid and Cerdà in Catalonia. It was a period when these architects were inclined to rational ideas, because if you look right and left, what do you find? That this is like a chessboard, parallel and perpendicular streets all the time. This is very different from medieval Madrid, where we will go later on, and where we find a maze of narrow streets, because there everybody built wherever they wanted. There was no criteria. If there was one, it was defense in case of invasions, and it was a different story. So in medieval Madrid, the value was the king, the palace, the monarch. Here there were collective values, so it was an entirely different philosophy. Very good. So it took like 20 years, more or less, to build this section of Madrid. But if you look right and left, do you think this was a section for working population? No way, no way. There was a lot of speculation, you see, and those who had the money, the bourgeoisie, they bought today, they waited, they sold, they made a lot of money, and they stayed here. So from the very beginning, even though the idea was to house those people, if you look here, Cartier to the right, Gucci to the left, Corte Inglés, Adolfo Domínguez to the left, very famous Spanish designer. So this was the area for that bourgeoisie. They wanted to equal the aristocracy, and they have their beautiful mansions here. Up to the present moment, this is the posh, elegant, sophisticated and expensive section in Madrid. That working population was, as you can imagine, forced to move to the suburbs in very crowded areas, as in many big cities in Europe, till little by little life changed. So the idea was to create avenues 30 meters wide, so the houses could have good ventilation, and so in case of social problems the people could not organize barricades here. And the first idea was to build houses only with 3 levels, with courtyards inside, courtyards with fountains, with gardens, blocks of houses, every few blocks, gardens, statues. But once more, only few houses were built according to these ideas. As you can see, there are more than 3 levels in most of them, for the same reasons, you see, because they made more money with more levels. But these ones that we have to the left, here where we have Loewe, these follow the original principles. And if you look now to the right, we have these huge blocks of stone by vaqueros. You can see inscriptions. This has to do with the discovery of America, because we are in Christopher Columbus Square, dedicated obviously to the Admiral, and And here they are symbolic representations of the two caravels, La Pinta and La Niña, and the one cargo boat with which Christopher Columbus started his expedition. You remember La Pinta, La Niña and La Santa Maria. He departed from the Atlantic coast in southern Spain, Puerto de Palos, Huelva, the 3rd of October 1492, and the 12th of October of the same year he reached what he thought was America. Well, what he thought was the Indies, to speak properly, right? This big building we have here to the right houses the Archaeological Museum, and it was built to commemorate the 5th centenary of the discovery of America. It is so big that this back section houses the Archaeological Museum and the other section the National Library. Very good.
Worked for the royal family. It was like a city, they had everything inside. They didn't need anything. They had all the professions that you can imagine, everything was in there. Okay, we just see a little part of it. And this might recall you, if you have been to Vienna, yes, in Austria. Okay, that you can think about the palaces you've seen in there also, because it's this type of grandeur, as they said, the magnificent palaces of the great dynasties and empires that they wanted to show to the world, because you have to remember that Spain at a certain point in history was a huge empire, was the greatest empire in the world. Okay, if we recall the history of the Occidental world, we have the Roman Empire, we have the French Empire, under Napoleon we have the Spanish Empire. Okay, that's moments in history. Now that is long forgotten. Our empire now is reduced to soccer and flamenco. Paella.
Paella. She's looking for a playmate. Hola. Say hola, hola.
Anyway, the Royal Palace. This is the square is known as Plaza de Oriente. Okay. Oriente means Orient, and Orient is that part where when the sun rises. Okay, so this is not the palace that the kings use. They have another palace for security reasons. They live on that area in a small palace, very well protected. It's called Zarzuela. Do you know what Zarzuela means? Okay, that has two uses. Zarzuela is used, for example, when you eat a big dish with a lot of seafood. That will be zarzuela de mariscos, seafood zarzuela. But the main use of zarzuela is the Spanish minor opera. I don't know if you know a friend of mine that is a singer called Plácido Domingo.
Yeah!
He's a dear friend of mine. He was born very close to the place I was born. He was born in Madrid, very close to the place I showed you. You follow that street, okay, with the coach. It could take something like, 10 minutes to get there. He was born there, and he was, first of all, just hold on. See? Hola. Perfecto, muchas gracias. Vale, muy bien. Muchas gracias. I have the greatest news for someone. You have your suitcase.
They all thank you too.
He's now going to pay a round of sangria to all of us.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I did not Thank you.
You know, I was I was there, you know, trying to communicate with my friend Saint Michael, okay, and other saints. I know to bring the suitcase for you. And
Saint Michael, he lost
Next time you
his
communicate,
suitcase
you thank him.
in London.
okay, San Gabriel, San Gabriel, San
They
Michael,
finally found it
San
now.
Rafael, the three archangels, okay? We get together once in a while, you know. Not too much because I have a lot of work. Okay, Plácido Domingo was born in Madrid near the Retiro Park, and he started singing zarzuela in Mexico, okay, because he was born in Madrid but very young. The family, who were the parents, zarzuela singers, okay, both of them, they moved to Mexico, and he started, you know, his career in Mexico. Then he moved to Israel, then he moved to the States, and then he's everywhere around the world. Okay, Plácido Domingo. Right there, I will show you that huge building. You don't see it from here very well. A few weeks ago, he had a concert, a special concert inside, but he wanted to show it also outside. So he brought a huge screen, you know, and right there they put the screen, and this was all full with chairs, and people could come here and watch it for free. That is the Opera House of Madrid. Very important. It was built at the beginning of the 19th century, then for many years it was closed after the Spanish Civil War, and then they restored it, and now it's one of the best opera houses in Europe, that one. Okay, you know that the concert was a pure coincidence, was just a couple of days after the final of the World Cup. So at the end of the concert, he came out at the balcony where the flags are, and he sang a couple of songs, you know, just to celebrate the victory of Spain, because Plácido Domingo, I don't know if you knew that, has been following the Spanish team for the last 30 years all around the world. All the time that Spain had a competition, he was there supporting the team. But this time, he had the help, you know, at the final game. Plácido Domingo was, you know, just cheering there, supporting the players. And also two dear friends of Plácido Domingo, Rafa Nadal, the tennis #1 in the world, and Pau Gasol, the basketball player, okay, that plays for LA Lakers, that won the title, the NBA title twice. Okay, so you know that now next month there will be in Turkey the World Championship of Basketball. Do you know that? And do you know which nation is the current champion of the world? Spain.
Oh!
World champions in basketball, world champions in soccer.
There you
World
go.
champions in tennis.
You got him a girl.
Hello, brother. Okay. This is the place where Franco used to give his speeches. Okay. He would stand somewhere there, but this was completely different because the traffic was running there all the time, and it was made pedestrian all the time. Okay. Okay. So.
Uh-oh, here comes another one.
Carry me!
¿Te la doy?
Can you carry me?
You don't want me to take her away with us?
Oh. Give me my sister.
Don't drop her.
Okay.
You made a friend for life.
Okay, so you can see many statues around the square that represent many kings of the history of Castile. We have spoken about Castile and Segovia. So those statues were meant to be put up at the top of the palace, but they soon realized that it was going to be dangerous, that they could fall off, and then they put them here. we're going to cross the square. I'm going to show you the Opera House, a couple of nice cafes. You can take picture of this. We'll walk together, and then we will enter the old area of town. Okay? Let's go.